Hi, this is going to be the video on the observation requirement for this class. So if you are on Canvas, on the third module will be observation requirement. And there I have an assignment that we're going to go over. I'll have both days that the observations will be due, and then also some information about our lab school as well. So on July 14th and on August 4th will be when your observations are due. And this is an observation of a real life breathing child who should be doing something and not just asleep. This class is very theoretical. We talk to you, we show you pictures and videos and lecture and have you read all about milestones in development and growth in children from 0 up until adolescence. It's very theoretical, and even more so, it's online. So what we want you to do is we need to get you out into the field, and you need to take the work that you are learning about and you need to apply it to a child. There are a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can go to our lab school, which is open in the summer. You can go to a licensed child care facility anywhere in our community as well. You could go to an elementary school, an after-school program, or if you have a family member who has a child or a friend who has a child and gives you permission, then you can observe that child as well. So in the observation assignment, we have 4 categories of ages. So we have 4 categories of ages. We have infant, toddler, we have preschool, we have middle childhood, which is like elementary school, and then you can interview an adolescent. So there are 4 age categories, but you only have to pick 2 of them to observe. So you're not doing 4 observations, you're only doing 2 observations, and it's your choice, the dealer's choice, which of the age groups you pick. So at our lab school, we're just opening infants, and we've got toddlers and we've got preschoolers. So you could go to our lab schools on 2 different days and get all of your observations taken care of. You could also, but if you went to an after-school program, those would be elementary or middle childhood age children, and that would only be 1, and you would need to pick another age group to interview or to observe. So once again, there are 4 age categories: infant, toddler, preschool, elementary or middle childhood, and an interview with an adolescent. So there are 4 different age groups. You're going to pick 2. So you could do infant, toddler, you could do adolescence, you could do middle childhood and preschool. Doesn't matter. I don't grade down for any of them. I don't care what observations you choose. It's what you have available to you that you can observe a real life breathing child who's running around and doing something. So you're going to do 2 observations in those age groups that we have, and it's totally up to you which ones you pick. So this is it. So these are the assignments that you're going to have. You're going to describe the principles involved in growth and development of a whole child. So this means how they physically develop, how they cognitively or thinking develop, how they socially, how they interact with the world, and emotionally what they feel, how those are changing through development. And we will learn more about this as the class goes on as well. You're also going to observe, record, and interpret human behavior as well. So this isn't due until a couple of weeks into class, so that you have the chance to learn more about child development and apply theories and ideas from the class to the observation. And that's the biggest thing, is that you take our theorists, our theories, anything that I'm writing about, I'm talking about in our lectures, you're reading about in our open educational resources, or you are learning in video quizzes, you're applying that to what you saw the child do. So once again, you're going to complete only two of the following observations. Once again, there's 4 categories. You're just going to pick 2. And then they need to be done at a licensed child care center. And you need to ask, you need to call up, hey, Head Start, can I come in on Thursday and observe? And they say, sure, bring your ID so we know you're a student, something like that. Or if your aunt has like an in-home child care, you could ask her. Once again, if your friend or family has a child, you can ask them for permission as well. The biggest thing is that you ask. You can't just go to a playground and be a creeper and observe a child. You need to know who the child is, and you need to have some information about them as well. If you'd love to go to our Child Development Center here on campus, our lab school, please do. It is amazing. It's beautiful. I love it. It's gorgeous. If you want to see a gorgeous child care center with amazing teachers, please go there. I'll talk more about some of our requirements because you can't just walk in, but we have some child development requirements, and I will talk about that. I don't want to know real names. You know, keep it anonymous. You can call them child A, you can give them a pseudonym, you can refer to them as a middle name, whatever it is, but I don't need to know. We're going to keep confidentiality. So what you're going to do is you're going to observe and record the child's physical and motor development, their cognitive, so their thinking development, their language, what they talk, say, hear, and then social emotional development as well. So what you should do is you should do a running record right here. So you should say it's 9 o'clock and then write all the detail that you can about the child. I like to say when I'm an observer that I'm a newscaster. So it's just facts, it's just objectives. So at 9 o'clock, Tommy picked up the book with his left hand, he placed it in his mouth, then he removed it, then he looked at it, then he put it in his mouth again. So that's a great observation about this child. It tells me the hand that they used, it tells me what they did with the toys. Then I could look up and I could say, is this appropriate for an infant or not? What a theorist like Piaget, who you'll learn about, what would he say about it? What is it saying about his hands and his fine motor skills and his ability to use fine motor skills? So this is a really great way that you should write about your running record. So you should write as much detail as possible. I like to do it old school. I like to have a book and a piece of paper because children love iPads and they really love laptops and they especially love phones. So if you have something like that out, the child's going to say, hey, can we play Angry Birds? Or can I go on Instagram? Or let's do a boomerang. All of those types of things. Children love that. They will swarm you and you will get no observations. You'll just have them asking to play games. And even at our lab school, we don't allow you to have technology because we've learned this over the years. So old-fashioned piece of paper doesn't have to be a book. It can literally be some computer scrap paper, a pencil that you found, or you can get some supplies at our bookstore. It's totally up to you, but you're just gonna write it down. That way, old school is best when it comes to observations. And then it's just the facts, it's just objectives. I don't need it. He's happy. How do you know he's happy? Unless he smiled and said, hey, I'm really happy, and then you can write that down and you don't have to say it because he told you about it. So that's an example of what you should do. In the moment, you're not going to know all of this, these comments about Piaget, circular reactions, hand dominance, but typically that's kind of what I like to do is I like to have a lot of different writing. And so an example would be, let me find the last observation I did. Okay, so it's not the best, but you can kind of see I have different colors because I was writing some observations and then I went back in with a different color and I also put my notes in. Or you could do columns, you could have most of the paper be your observations and then circle or highlight the interesting things so that you can go back and you can write it about it later and analyze it and tell me about it. Because it's the most important thing is that you then follow this template that we have. So here's infant, toddler, preschool, school-age child, and your interview with an adolescent. So once again, there's 4 categories. You're only picking 2. So let's say you were looking at Tommy, who's a little baby. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this template that is right here. So in my first part, I'm going to talk about physical appearance. Tommy is about 20 inches tall. He weighs 17 pounds. He's got curly brown hair and brown eyes. Then I'm going to observe. So then you're going to go there and you're going to see him for 10 minutes. So let's say he's eating with a caregiver and then you watch him 45 minutes later and he's outside crawling and exploring the grass outside. That would be great. That's going to give you his physical ability to crawl and to move, how he interacts and talks with caregivers, and then also it'll give you some cognitive as well. So you want kind of 2 different blocks with different things happening, and it shouldn't be sleeping, it could be getting a bottle, it could be a more sedate activity, but you want the child up and doing so. Then you want a written observation or even a running record of what the child's doing. This is where I want as much objective detail as possible. So this is just the newscaster. Just tell me what the child did, how they interacted with toys, how they picked up toys, what they said to their parents, what they said to other adults, how did they move their bodies, were they dancing, were they playing, anything like that. So describe it. If it seems small and insignificant, still write it down, still tell me about it, because insignificant things often tell us a lot about what we're learning about children. Then the biggest thing, and this is the most points, is that analyze section. So this is where you're going to have looked at a child and you've observed a child, and now you're going to tell me about what you saw the child doing. So the best thing to do is look at concepts, theories, or terminology. So this is going to be things that you are learning in the class. This could be our theorists, Freud, Piaget, Watson, Skinner, Ainsberg. I know those words mean nothing to you, but in the next couple of weeks they will. Then we have motor development, how you use your fine motor, which is your little hands and how you pick things up, how you draw, how you cut, and then your larger movements, so being able to catch a ball, being able to throw a ball, being able to kick, dribble, anything like that. We also have psychosocial or social-emotional development, cognitive or thinking development, and language development as well. So if a child said something, then you should write it down, tell me about the observation, and then tell me what type of language development this is. It's receptive, it's acquired, it's pragmatics, anything like that. The best thing to do is to use Mr. Google. He's great in these types of situations. You can describe what you've seen or a milestone that you've seen, and Google can help you. Our textbook that we have, that Open Educational Lumen text, would also be really helpful. And then if you saw something and it was interesting, but you just really can't figure out what kind of concept or theory it is, feel free to email me. Tell me about what you saw, and I can point you in the right direction when it comes to doing research on those theories, terminology, or concepts that you might be seeing a child. So you're going to observe a child. Once again, then you're going to write about them using this template that we have. So there's the 4 templates: infant, toddler, preschool, elementary or middle childhood, and an interview with an adolescent. So those 4 areas, you're going to use these templates to write about your objective, just the facts, observation about a child, where you then pull it into our concepts, theories, and terminologies of child development. So that's our child observation and interview assignment. It's up on Canvas already, waiting for you to take a look at it. It's always a great idea to watch these videos and then read it as well. And then once again, I want to get into the lab school. So gorgeous, amazing lab school, but we have some rules to keep the children at our lab school on campus safe. And so we have this statement of commitment for confidentiality. And if you want to go to our lab school, you need to read this, and then you need to send it to me so that I can sign it as well. So once you've read it all and you're willing to respect the confidentiality of the program, not follow children into the bathroom, you are going to not bring weapons or medications, you can't have a backpack, you can have nothing like that. In our classroom, you can't have any technology because, once again, you got to go a little old school because children will hassle you. You can't smell like cigarette smoke or any strong odors because we have children who have asthma or respiratory issues within our classrooms as well. So you need to read all of this to see what you can and cannot do, what kind of proper attire you should have, such as closed-toe shoes. So please don't go on flip-flops. And then we want to make sure that you don't have a cell phone. You can't eat a bunch of nachos in the classroom, and we can't bring an energy drink. So once you've read all of these, then you're going to send it to me, and then I will sign it, making sure that you've read it and understand it. And then you will take this and you will go to the lab school with your student ID. And it has to be your Palomar student ID. That shows us, and that shows the people at our lab school, that you aren't actually a student and you have the right to be there and to learn from our lab school. So you have to have a signed statement of commitment and confidentiality, and you also have to have your Palomar student ID. I think it's about $12. It's great though, it gets you free prints at the library. I think you get 5 free prints a day. It also gets you discounts and a reduction in like your movie costs. So while it is a cost, if you go to a lot of movies, it should help you out. But this just shows us that you are a student and that you're able to do that. So that's what you need in order to get into our lab school as well. So that concludes this video on the observation. Once again, there are 4 age categories. You're going to choose 2. One will be due on July 14th. One will be due on August 4th. Here is the information all about the observation, and here is the statement of commitment and confidentiality that you need in order to go to our lab school. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys online.